After the critically acclaimed Batman Arkham Asylum made its debut in 2009, fans of the Bat have been highly anticipating a sequel that would outdo its predecessor. Can one of the most anticipated games of 2011 live up to the hype?
Shame. This is gonna hurt.
In this chapter of The Dark Knight, all of Gotham's worst prisoners have been locked up in a section of Gotham called Arkham City. In this city, everything is in chaos. Different gangs attempt to take control of the city, Hugo Strange is in charge, and there is no way in or out of it. The game starts with Bruce Wayne giving a speech in front of the prison and being captured and placed inside of Arkham City. But that was Batman's plan all along. Now that he's inside, he can see everything that is going on inside Arkham City. The story is very well crafted and always keeps you on the edge, trying to guess what's going to happen next. The only negative aspect of it is that a lot of the times, villains are just thrown in and out of the story regularly, making it a bit convoluted at times. It's not necessarily a bad story for a superhero game, as it has depth and some interesting analysis into Batman's persona. At the same time, however, it's nowhere near as complex or deep as the story in a movie like The Dark Knight.
This place is dangerous. I like it.
Gameplay-wise, the game has went through one major change since our last encounter with the world's best detective. This time around, you're not confined to certain sections of the game at a time. Instead, you're free to roam around inside of Arkham City in a huge variety of missions, challenges, and collecting Riddler's trophies. The game gives you a whole lot of freedom in traveling throughout the gigantic world. Traveling across the city is a blast, as you can listen to what henchmen are talking about while gliding through the sky, and it's more than filled with things to do. Aside from the open world gameplay though, the game didn't change much from its predecessor. Hiding is a key element, abusing detective mode against armed enemies is still a must, and combat is still a button masher. You have all of your gadgets from the previous game and some new ones which will come in handy at different times. Something entirely new to the game is the ability to play as Catwoman. For the most part, Catwoman controls extremely similar to Batman. She has her own gadgets and her own sexy moveset. Catwoman plays a very small role in the game, probably only giving you an extra 2 hours or so of gameplay, but it was nice to see some variety.
Sorry to disappoint you boys.
Replayability-wise, there's a lot more to do this time than just collecting the Riddler's trophies. On top of having hundreds of Riddler's trophies scattered across the city, there are dozens of side missions to do in Arkham City. You'll be rescuing poor souls that happen to be stuck in this chaotic city, tracking down serial killers, and even help some villains with their own problems. I completed the game in roughly 12 hours, but I only had 38% completion for the entire game. It can easily take you another 12 to 15 hours to 100% the game. It also features a Story Plus mode, where you can keep all the experience and gadgets you received, but the game is much more challenging. The graphics in the game look very much alike to its previous iteration. The city is incredibly detailed and the game runs at a steady frame rate. Cinematics needed a better encoding and sometimes the textures have long loading times. Sound effects and voice acting are incredible. If you pay attention to detail, you can hear some incredible things as well. As awesome as the game is, it's still far from perfect. Like we mentioned earlier, the combat is very bland. You can easily take down an army of henchmen by simply pressing X and triangle the entire time. Some enemies require more finesse, but for the most part the combat is as boring as it was in the first game. If you want to change, however, either just play the game on hard, or once you're finished with the first playthrough, just play the game again with Story Mode Plus. Another issue with the game is the lack of clarity on where you're supposed to go at times. Even with Detective Mode on, the game sometimes was not too clear about where you're supposed to go, or where the entrance to a building was, which unfortunately caused some rather frustrating moments during the playthrough.
It must be depressing. All your sacrifices and...
Dark Knight's long-awaited sequel easily lives up to the hype. Almost everything that made the original Arkham Asylum so great has been improved upon, and adding that open-world gameplay to the game created an incredible experience that fans of Batman will not want to miss. It's hard to think of anyone that wouldn't enjoy this game. Unless you hated the first game, this game is a must-buy.